Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Senate Transportation. It's nice to see all of you. Would you please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? Senator Fenton, will you do the honors?
Happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Well,
Second time today I did that.
I do it on anything that I chair. All right, since it's past 1 o'clock, we will start with House Bill 113.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, maybe we don't pass it to them.
Thank you. Hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Representative Rashay Colcom. I'm the sponsor for House Bill 113. I appreciate your time and the members' time as well. I'm here on behalf of the residents of the town of Windsor about what we hope is a straightforward bill. Some of the residents had approached me to help solve a simple problem. Town of Windsor has roughly 1.8 miles of an unnamed, unnumbered state road, and it's a 35-mile-an-hour state road. And the state road dissects the north and the south parts of the town of Windsor. So therefore, the residents cannot ride their OHRVs on this road legally. However, the town has granted them permission to be able to travel with the OHRVs on their town roads, private roads, and all the local roads that they have there. The only challenge that they have is getting from one side of the town to the other legally with the OHRVs. So they approached me because the only way that we can solve this problem is through the legislation, the way that it's currently written. So I'm here to ask for the committee's approval on this bill. I'll give you a little bit more background. Windsor's a small town of 280 residents, about 12 miles of roads total, most of which dead end. Of those roads, 7.5 miles are Class 6 roads or private roads, 1.5 miles town maintained roads, and 2.7 miles of state road. We're only talking about 1.8 miles on this bill. About 12 years ago, the town of Windsor, through their town meeting, I believe, the townspeople voted to allow OHRVs to be able to travel on all of their roads. Currently, it's the normal everyday life over there. Is how they'll go get their mail, they'll go visit family members, they'll go to town hall if they are on the right side of the town to be able to get to town hall. So this bill specifically names the roads that are in question, which is Windsor Road and Black Pond Road. And again, I'd like to remind the committee that this is an unnumbered state road with a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. The state takes care of the road in the summer, the town takes care of it in the winter. It's one of those agreements where it's split. It's not a through route. It just happens to be classified as a state road, which is exactly why the select board's hands are tied on being able to give authorization to this. So they aren't allowed to give authorization. We haven't enabled that in the law. And this bill is hopefully giving them the ability, the ability to do that on their own. Geographically, this stretch cuts through, as I said, the middle of the town. There are fewer than 20 homes that are on this portion of the road that we're looking for. I went and checked, and I'm sorry that I don't remember the number off the top of my head more specifically. The town office is about a 1/4 mile off of this road, and under this bill, the select board would still have to hold a notice of public hearing. They'd still have to advertise at least 14 days in advance. They'd still need to notify the abutters by certified mail before authorizing anything. They would also need to have it signed off by the Department of Transportation and the Department of Safety. And then, if approved, the Bureau of Trails would then post, or they can delegate the responsibility to post the appropriate signage on any of the approved sections of the road. And if the town ever needs to change or walk back on this authorization, the same public hearing process applies. So outside of an emergency, they would still have to hold the public hearings and everything. So there's guardrails in place for the community. This request is not coming from any OHRV club. They're not pushing to expand a trail system. And to the best of my knowledge, there's nothing on the horizon to do that. From the people who had approached me, they're local townspeople that came to me and asked for this to be done so that they can travel legally. So for years, there's been a connecting trail out in the woods that connect Hillsborough and Washington to Windsor. This is off the beaten path, well off of the roads that we're talking about. That is going to remain as is. That's uninterrupted. The town has granted that authority. That is not even part of this conversation. And again, that's been used for years, probably even more than the 12 years that the town has allowed the OHRV traffic to be traveling. And I focus a lot on the 12 years because you'll probably hear that there's going to be some concerns of the noise, of the traffic, or anything else. And the fact that the town has been doing this with the support of the townspeople for 12 years, and they're the ones asking for this one extra road, I guess demonstrates to me that it really isn't a pervasive problem over there. And because there's no club that's looking to start a club over there, that's another reason. The final reason that I would say is the town of Windsor has no commerce. They don't have a restaurant. They don't have a bar. They don't have shopping or stores or anything over there. So this is not a location that we're going to have riders looking for a night out to go to. So again, small community of 280 people, pretty tight-knit community, asking for your support on this. And I've given a copy of the map that shows, and you'll see if any of you aren't familiar with Windsor, it's a pretty unique town in that everything kind of goes in. It's a one-way street in, one-way street out. We do have one state road that connects Hillsborough through Windsor to Washington. That, again, is off of this beaten path. This is not part of the bill. So it just kind of goes into a dead-end community, few ponds, a lot of camps back there. So I'm hoping I have your support. Thank you for your time, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
I have a question. So my question is, I'm not clear why it needs to be legislated if they can already hold a public hearing and get the will of the people. Why do you need to legislate a select board having a public meeting and a hearing?
Because thank you for the question. Currently, that actually isn't in the law. So currently, they don't have that ability. This bill, with the amendment that came in from my colleagues on the committee, will give them that ability to do this. So currently, the way the law is written, they don't have the authority. We haven't enabled them that ability, and that's what this bill is doing. So it mirrors some of the other communities that has the OHRV traveling.
So is the reason that it's not just a local decision because the road is maintained by the state and the people? Is that what makes it different than the town just making the decision? Most select boards make their own rules for their own town.
That is correct. So because this portion is a state portion of the road, the town is not willing to take this portion of the road on as their responsibility. So it is a shared responsibility with the state. And because of that, we have to go through this legislation with the way that the law currently is written. So we've just added this section in with the guardrails that are needed so that going forward, the town of Windsor will not have to come and ask for legislation to make changes. They will be able to do so unilaterally.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. So you're talking about a section of, are you talking about a section of 31?
No, 31
So
is
what is the highway?
Windsor Road, from where the town line of Hillsborough ends.
Yeah.
Windsor Road down to the end where it bears left to Black Pond Road to where the Wadico School is.
right.
That is state highway. That's the unnumbered state highway that probably was numbered maybe 200 years ago.
I guess I always thought of 31 is the one that goes right through and it goes up to Washington.
31 is part of their state highway. That's the other mile. That's part of their state highway, but that is not part of this equation. That is not something we are looking to add
Okay.
OHRV traffic on at all.
Okay.
And I would actually vote against it if anybody tried to put that one through.
Senator McConkey?
Yep, thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Representative. I haven't been to that town, but I've discussed that town many times on different projects. My question is, it's a shared responsibility, winter, summer. Who has the winter maintenance? Is it the state or is it the town?
Thank you for your question. It's the town that has the winter maintenance. The state has the summer maintenance.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Chair, we will now call Claire
Hi,
Good afternoon, welcome.
good afternoon. Thank you. My name's Claire Pouliot. You probably all read the email I sent you from my husband and myself. We live on Windsor Road. We've lived there for 22 years. I could read my email or hand you a copy, or I'm the essence of time. What would you like me to do?
But tell us, your position and how you feel and why.
Okay, well, there's three major points. Safety. The very definition of an OHRV is off-highway recreational vehicle. That would include ATVs, trail bikes, and UTVs. The manufacturers of ORHVs warn against using this product on paved surfaces, which is what we're talking about, because they are not designed for operation on paved roads. They don't meet safety standards to survive a collision with cars, trucks, delivery vans, buses, and tractor trailers, all which travel on our road on a daily basis at a rate of 35 to 55 miles per hour. In the event of an OHRV accident, our only road in Windsor, this is the main road that comes in and out of Windsor and dead ends, like the representative said, that road would be jeopardized. In addition, according to the Consumer Federations of America, in 2023, there were 498 OHRV fatalities, disproportionately 332 or 67% occurred on paved roads. Two nonprofit organizations who represent OHRV manufacturers and distributors agree that the operation on roads should be opposed at all costs. The SVIA and the ROHVA say that permitting OHRV use conflicts with the manufacturer's intentions of proper use and would be contrary to federal safety requirements. In addition, the Consumer Protection Agency in 2024 said that OHR fatalities surged by 127% over the previous year, with 65% of those deaths occurring on paved and unpaved roads, and were on other than designated trails, and is largely driven by unsafe road riding and a lack of helmet use. In the current Fish and Game OHRV digest that I have here, it states in every definition of all types of OHR vehicles that they are a mechanically propelled vehicle designed and adapted for travel over surfaces other than maintained roads. In the owner's manual, which I have here, it lists over 6 times that this product is has warnings against using on roads because they are not designed for roads, their wheels are not safe for roads, they have no protection when they hit an oncoming vehicle, if they hit an oncoming vehicle. It just doesn't make sense and it's not safe. So if we move on to enforcing, if this were to pass, it's a state road. State police are responsible. Windsor has no enforcement. We don't have a police department. And the state police from Troop B, which is 48 miles away, are responsible, but rarely respond or patrol our roads. The same is true of the Fish and Game Department. The sheer volume of OHRV use has placed a burden on the New Hampshire Fish and Game. According to Lieutenant David Walsh, to paraphrase, he said, statewide, we have the same number of officers that we did in 1950. We didn't have search and rescue that we do now, and there weren't OHRVs and snowmobiles. If you look at the state as a whole, they put a lot of effort into the positives of this type of recreation, but that should go hand in hand to cover with enough law enforcement. Again, the only access to Windsor Road is from Windsor Road in Hillsborough, where they are allowed only 2 or 4 passengers side-by-sides up to the Windsor town line. That doesn't stop anybody from traveling Windsor Road, just because there's a town line. If you allow all types of OHRVs to access Windsor, in Windsor, you will invite illegal use through Hillsborough, because they want to get to Windsor Road. The speed limit on Windsor Road is 35, with the legal speed limit for OHRVs will be 20 miles per hour. Is there a plan to enforce these limits? No. The negative impact of OHRV use on our roads will affect the quality of life cause property devaluation due to the noise, nuisance, and additional trash and the influx of traffic it'll bring. Many towns in northern New Hampshire who approve this kind of use are now introducing legislation for abutters to have rights. Even New Hampshire Fish and Game state, as long as local roads are open to riders, there is no incentive to develop off-road trails and establish trail networks. In addition, there are no stores or gas stations in town, as one would argue as a reason to have paved road access. In fact, while visiting us, our daughter's vehicle was almost hit by an ATV user riding at night without lights at a high rate of speed. And at one of the town meetings, I was once called a fearmongerer. I can tell you I am not. The only thing I fear is that if an ORV and a legal street vehicle collide, the OHRV will lose. The operator and passengers will be hurt and or killed, and vital access to our only road will be temporarily suspended. Thank you very much for your time. Any questions?
Members of the committee have any questions?
Nope.
I have one.
Okay.
So with the bill, it has this due process where you would have the opportunity for a public hearing and the guardrails. What, may I ask what your objection would be to that?
My biggest issue is, even if the town was in favor of it, and the majority of people I know are, it's not a safe activity. I don't understand how people can endorse an unsafe activity. It would seem to me it might open it up to liability and other issues. And the enforcement. You say, okay, let them do it. Who's going to enforce it? There is no police department. Fish and Game told us that it's the state police that would need to enforce it. And they're very overwhelmed, like all law enforcement is right now. So I don't see this as a win for anybody. But that's my husband and I. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. It's appreciated. Okay, we will now call Ellen Blake. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak.
Of course.
I sent an email earlier, but I'm just going to read it for you. Windsor and Black Pond serve as the primary routes for residents and support vehicles. Can you hear me now? Better? Okay. Due to challenging terrain featuring hills and corners, visibility can be limited for both automobiles and OHRVs. The speed limit on these roads is set at 35, which exceeds the recommended operating speed for OHRVs of 20 to 25. Speeding is already a common occurrence and a safety issue on the road. Despite these challenges, unauthorized road use now occurs, including by some of our town officials. After consulting with New Hampshire Fish and Game Enforcement Officer, I learned that if the proposed bill passes, responsibility for enforcing will transfer to the state police. As stated, the state police do not actively enforce speeding or any other violations on Windsor or Black Pond roads due to resource constraints, making it highly unlikely they will respond to OHRV related reports. Windsor lacks its own police force. Hillsborough Police only address emergency calls, so enforcement from local authorities will be minimal. While selectmen may post speed limits, they lack the capacity and authority to enforce them. As a result, there would be effectively no enforcement, creating a hazardous situation for motorists and other residents, including those walking, exercising, cycling, or horseback riding along these roads. The Wadico School is located at the end of Black Pond Road, with daily transportation for students, teachers, staff, and deliveries. During summer, Wadico hosts a summer camp over 45 days for approximately 70 children, with added staff and support personnel. Adjacent to that is Windsor Mountain Camp and Resort, which hosts several children's camps during the year and facilitates camper pickup and drop-off several days during the summer, resulting in concentrated traffic congestion. Additionally, Windsor Mountain hosts weddings and various functions year-round. One of the town's bus stop at the intersection of Black Pond Road and Miller Road coincides with the planned OHRV route. Furthermore, there's an association called the Woods of Windsor that includes several homes, numerous campsites, Airbnbs, and private summer camps. It's utilized by non-residents. All will likely increase the activity, learning about the road access. Without proper enforcement, the risk of accidents is heightened. particular given existing speeding concerns. I strongly recommend those evaluating this bill visit the area, ideally on foot during a summer weekend, to fully appreciate the impact. There is currently no ATV club nor access to any state OHRV trails in Windsor except for State Trail Number 6, which is a snowmobile trail financed solely by snowmobile registrations. No one will be designated to post signs or address related issues. Expanded access will allow OHRVs on maintained and non-maintained roads, leading to increased wear and tear, with the maintenance costs falling to local residents who lack the means to restrict. Homeowners on private roads must handle trespassing concerns. All non-private roads off Black Pond and Windsor Road, which is Dodge Hill, Miller, Campbell's Gore, and Old Windsor Mountain Road, are not legally open to OHRV use, as proper notification and ordinance procedures have not been completed. I personally went through all of the town meetings and I looked through the ordinance, and there was never anything passed allowing the use of the non-maintained or maintained town roads in Windsor. So should the state permit the OHRV use on Windsor and Black Pond roads, operators would be compelled to travel on roads where such use remains unlawful. Legalizing such activities lacks justification, much as allowing unsafe driving practices would not be appropriate simply because they already happen. We moved to Windsor over 20 years ago. My husband and I value the peace and quiet our property offers. We do not wish to contend with excessive noise, trespassing, irresponsible riding, or diminished property values associated with OHRV routes. While we personally enjoy recreational vehicles, we enjoy snowmobiles, I have ATVs, and I have a horse. ATVs are not intended for the paved roads. As stated before, the warning, I could quote the U.S. Product Safety Commission, but we know that they're not designed for pavement use. And as Claire pointed out, I have a warning on my own ATV saying, don't ride on pavement. It seems inequitable that the bill is advancing despite clear opposition from abutters most adversely impacted. Overall, the proposed legislation seems to prioritize the enjoyment of the minority at the expense of the broader safety and well-being of the majority. Thank you for addressing this. And what I do want to say is I did send you some pictures, and I have copies of those. Two of these are showing the abuse that is currently happening. These are pictures of our own town hall with ATVs parked there. And that was by one of our selectmen who had to travel illegally down the road to get to the town hall. So if our selectmen are breaking the law, there will be no enforcement of any law that gets passed. The second picture I have here is some of the abuse that's happening otherwise. A lot of ATVs already driving the road. They race up and down, do burnouts. So I just wanted to bring you guys pictures to make you aware of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions or comments from the
Do you have a
committee?
map?
I provided in your packet.
Yeah, I do.
No,
I do
a
not have
map
that.
of the roads or trails that the OHRV actually can use.
Well, as I stated, there's no ordinance in town that really was ever written, and I've lived here 20 years. And I'm also the treasurer, so I am attended almost every selectman meeting, and I don't have a map, but I do know the roads. It's Dodge Hill Road, White Pond Road, Campbell's Gore, Miller Road, and Old Windsor Mountain Road. Black Pond, it comes up this way, and all these roads are kind of off it. And then there's private roads off of those roads.
So Black Mountain Road comes off 31 in Hillsborough,
Yes.
and then it goes up. You come to a T.
Yeah, actually it goes Windsor Road, comes to a T, Black Pond goes to the left, White Pond goes to the right.
Right, right. Okay, so those areas they're using.
Oh, yes, they use them now.
Okay,
But again, there's no ordinance that really allows it, so it's kind of a gray area if
okay.
there's
thank you.
nothing that exists.
Senator McConkey, you
Yep.
have a question?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Did the representative have a map she was trying to give to us earlier? Is it right here in front of me? I don't know. Oh, thank you.
There might be one misunderstanding if I have an opportunity to pull up.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Now, other people signed up in support, but they didn't check speaking. Is there, okay, you may come forward.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much. I'm State Representative Mike Willett from Colebrook. I am the chair of the HB 1188 commission that studies OHRV use in New Hampshire. I've been a long time motorsports advocate and participant, and I just want to clear up a couple of things I heard today in the testimony. That the roads throughout the state, especially that I've been involved with, are used as trail connectors, not as trails. And the only reason why you use a trail connector, because you might have an uncooperative landowner between the two sections of trail. It's the only way to get across. Using the roads is a last resort. As far as I know, the roads have been, I know in my experience, have been very safe, that have been used for the trail connectors. And myself included, I run DOT approved tires because I know I'm going to be on the road. And there are a lot of ATVers out there that are running DOT approved tires. And in all my time in the sport, and people I know, do not know of any accidents with cars that have been done on trail connectors. There have been some accidents with motor vehicles, but not on trail connectors on roads that they should have been on, period. And as far as a lot more traffic coming from Hillsborough into Windsor, it's not going to happen just because there's no services in Windsor. There's no reason to go there. You're not going there for gas. You're not going there for lunch. This is just really a bill to get the people from Windsor onto the trail system. One thing that they said was it lowers property taxes, and that's an absolute falsehood. And I can prove that because there was a lawsuit in the town of Gorham where some abutters to the trails sued the Bureau of Trails and the local club, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the findings were that it actually improved and raised property values being on the trail. It did not decrease property values. And the defendants did not prevail in that court case. And like I said, that went all the way to the New Hampshire Supreme Court. They had mentioned problem with people racing up and down the roads and stuff, and we all know there's a few bad apples out there. But the users, the OHRV riders, give Fish and Game over $1 million a year for law enforcement, and pick up the phone and start complaining, and Fish and Game will be there to enforce. They're getting paid to do it. It's just a matter of putting their feet to the fire to force them to do their jobs. And right now, I know that up north in state routes Route 3, Route 16, Route 10, and Route 145 all have trail connectors on state highways and have been for many years without any issues. I think that the people of Windsor pay their OHRV registrations, and all they want to do is get from one side of town to the other to use the trails. It's like Representative Coulomb said, I think it's a very simple bill, and hopefully that the committee will support it. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Senator Benton?
Thank you, and thank you for taking my question. We just got testimony, we just heard testimony and pictures of them not using this trail as rail connectors, but as using it for personal vehicles. Can you comment on that?
You know, like I said, the only thing I can tell you is I've spent a lot of time with the Fish and Game, and in Coos County, we haven't been happy with Fish and Game's law enforcement, and we put in our county budget that we hire the sheriffs to do some law enforcement. But Fish and Game has assured me, you take a situation like that where someone shouldn't be, take a picture of the registration number, you call them, and they said they will write them a ticket or do enforcement with it. Fish and Game has told me that personally.
Senator McConkey?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So I'm trying to catch up here and listen to all the passionate testimony. So I'm showing a map here in a heavy dark line offered by the sponsoring representative. And is that represent roughly 1.8 miles? That's the connecting route between the two?
Yes.
So if I'm down here by Black Pond, are there a series of trails that are approved for OHRB down there?
I'd have to ask the sponsor.
They are not club maintained trails. Any trails that are back there that are used are not maintained by any club. They're local and property owner granted.
Class 5 or Class 6 roads back there?
6.
Maybe class 6,
Class 7.
but more probably fire roads.
Okay, all right, sounds good. If I could follow up, and I probably should ask. So when I travel from Black Pond and I go up to Windsor, which this is a connector, or is the connector to this middle section here? Are there OHRB trails when I get to the far end at Windsor?
I don't know if you want me to microphone or not. So
Yeah, if you,
I'm trying
if you're
to
so down,
find out
that's
where I'm truly connecting to. If I started at Black Pond, and is there an approved trail network that I'm going to, that this is truly a connection, or is this?
thank you for the question. No, there is no organized trail network that is maintained for the summer OHRV. There is a trail network for the snowmobiles, which are also OHRVs. So there's a trail network, Corridor 6, that is maintained by the local snowmobile club. There is no Hillsborough OHRV ATV club. There's a Henniker ATV club, which I'm a member of, and Henniker only handles a certain portion. So this is designed to get legally from point A to point B to those trails in the woods that are available, but it's not a club organized trail system, if that makes a difference and if that clears that up.
I understand what you're telling me. You're putting a connector road between three sections of town, what it looks like. So I've got a subdivision in the middle, I've got something down by Black Pond, and then I have something by this other pond up in Windsor. But we're making so residents, people that have registered OHRV vehicles can get to those points, but there's no formal trail network at any of these 3 points if they get there.
That's correct.
So
And-
it's mostly for the access of residents to get from one place to the other.
correct.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. The picture there, it looks and like that they're being used as a car or in lieu of a car. I mean, is that really what I'm looking at?
It is, and it's very possible that that vehicle does have a plate on it that is registered to be used over the road. So that is called a UTV, a utility vehicle, and that has if it has the windshield wipers, the headlights, the blinkers, and all of the safety equipment for on-road travel, that is legal to drive on-road. So it may be, and I don't know specifically if this person has a plate on that allows him to travel over the road.
And
If I could, there's no plate on that vehicle.
Okay. I didn't see the picture, so.
it doesn't look like there's a plate.
Where would you see it?
Well, right here. But my other question was, are you aware that from some of the testimony we've just heard about there not being an ordinance? And if there really isn't an ordinance, would legislating this at the state level override the fact that there's not an ordinance?
I'm not aware that there's not an ordinance. When I've spoken with the town governing body, I have been informed that there has been approval by the selectmen, and it was roughly 12 years ago that it was on at a town meeting where they approved this. So I'm taking them as their word. I did not actually go back and dig because they don't have their minutes online, so it's a little harder and there's more work required. If I may, there was something that was shared in testimony regarding they don't have a police department, and that is true. And the state police, Troop B, are responsible. However, because they are 48 miles away, over an hour away, it has been their custom to contact Hillsborough Police Department. Hillsborough Police Department does respond, and I'm a Hillsborough resident, and I'm aware of this because it has been a bone of contention for me that they aren't paying taxes. They do pay the town of Hillsborough to respond to their calls. Hillsborough currently has 2 OHRVs that they use to patrol the roads in Hillsborough because they've granted permission on the Hillsborough. they've gotten those for grants. They also do the trail system over from Hillsborough into Windsor. And I've talked with our police chief. He has been over there with that as well. So there is enforcement, minimal as it may be, but there is the ability to respond. The Hillsborough Fire and Rescue also respond to any of their emergency calls over there. According to our police chief, they've had no accidents over there. Let's knock on wood that continues to stay that number. And there was one other piece that Senator Ward was asking about regarding Route 31. Route 31 is a couple miles down the road, east of where we're talking, and it does not intersect with this area at all. And that portion of Route 31 is actually in the town of Hillsborough. In order to get onto Windsor Road, they have to come off of Route 31 onto Windsor Road, and they're still in the town of Hillsborough. Hillsborough does not allow any access of OHRVs on Route 31. They cannot cross, they cannot ride on it. So there will not be traffic coming in from Hillsborough unless those people are riding a legally allowed UTV on Windsor Road. ATVs are not allowed on Windsor Road from Hillsborough.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you for coming back. Is there any other members of the public that would like to speak on House Bill 113? I don't see anyone, and I also don't see anyone, a trooper or a fish or game or anything. So we will then close the hearing on House Bill 113.
Yeah, what do you mean on this? Do you vote today on this?
We're not going to have time today to do it today, so it will most likely be next Tuesday.
Thank you.
So you don't have to sit here for whatever time.
Till next Tuesday. Till next Tuesday. I will if I have to.
And the hearing will be online next Tuesday.
Thank you very much again for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, all right. All right, thanks.
Do you have copies of these?
So I got an email. I can make copies for you.
Wait, we gotta stay on task here. Let's see. We will now open the hearing on House Bill 1078 FN. Would the representative please come forward?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Senate Transportation Committee. For the record, I'm Representative Arnold Davis from Mylan, representing COAS District 2, and I'm here to introduce House Bill 1078. It's a privilege to speak before you today in support of House Bill 1078, but this bill isn't just about a license plate. It's about recognition and respect for the fathers and family members who share in the ultimate sacrifice of the Gold Star mothers. In a previous session, a similar bill was set aside due to the fiscal note exceeding $200,000. However, with the Department of Safety's updated manufacturing process, the cost has been significantly reduced to somewhere approximately $20,000. I have submitted an amendment, if the Senate would consider it, which changes one sentence. I believe it's on page 1, item line 21 and 22, where it says or other recognized authorities. This was actually recommended by the Deputy Adjutant General that we clarify that, and that's what this one sentence is. It just clarifies the recognition of family members. So you'd be able to use your birth certificate, a marriage certificate, to clarify that you are related to the deceased. So I would like to keep my remarks brief here, as there are speakers behind me with powerful testimonies to share. I will conclude by saying this is a small and reasonable request for those who have sacrificed so much for our nation, and I'd urge you, the committee, to please vote ought to pass on House Bill 1078. I thank you for your time, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Senator McConkey?
Yes. So, Representative, thank you for bringing this and working on it. I have some draft language here that starts on line 20B, proof of relationship to deceased service member. with a correction there. It says such as a birth certificate. There's another recognized authority crossed out. So it goes such as a birth certificate, marriage certificate, or United States Department of Veterans Affairs, VA benefit letter. That's the total language that you think the amendment should contain.
Yes, that was recommended to me by the Deputy Adjutant General, and I believe she knows the workings of that department a lot more than I do. So I'm going by her recommendation.
We can do it as a committee amendment when we get to that point.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Both of this one, right, from Gannon?
We're not going to bring that
No.
forward today now.
No, but that's part of it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We now have coming up to speak Erica Groan. And Steve, if you want to come together, that's fine. Hi. Yes, please. Just say who you are, where you're from.
Okay.
We're a friendly group.
My name is Erica Groan.
And
This
Steve,
is my husband, Steve.
and we're from Gorham.
So today I'm just
Okay.
Take
Take
your
a deep
time.
together we raised our daughter, Emily, and our son, Tanner. They're 18 months apart. We lost Tanner November 10th, 2023 in a helicopter training accident in Cyprus. Not a day goes by that we don't think of him and what we've lost. I'm here today to ask you to include fathers and families by allowing them to receive a Gold Star license plate. Currently, New Hampshire only allows mothers to receive this plate. I strongly disagree with just me being allowed to have this honor. Many other states include fathers, spouses, families. Our family has always done things together. Tanner was not raised by me alone. Tanner and Emily have played a big part in how Steve and Emily have played a big part in how he turned out. Tanner was a good person that served this country with honor and dignity. He gave 100% of himself in more ways than one. When he came home, he would always reach out to his childhood friends. His friends said that they would see their friends that lived close to them more when Tanner would come home and bring them all together. They were often at our home. He loved his friends, he loved his family, and he loved New Hampshire. He would tell his Army buddies that New Hampshire would be a great place to retire. He loved the mountains and our close-knit community. Please, New Hampshire Senate, don't let Tanner down. Our family and other Gold Star families deserve to have the license plate that honors our loved one. Please pass this bill.
First, I want to say how truly sorry I am for such a great loss. There is no greater loss than your child. So I'm very sorry. And we are happy to be here and hope that you'll be able to get some comfort in such a difficult situation.
Thank you.
With that, are there any questions or comments? Thank you for your
Thank you.
testimony. Stephanie Ouellette.
Don't worry.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Welcome, afternoon.
Thank you. So my name is Stephanie Willett, and I am the Survivor Outreach Services Support Coordinator here in New Hampshire.
Thank you.
Start again. Good morning. So my name is Stephanie Willett, and I am the Survivor Outreach Services Coordinator here in New Hampshire. And what that means is that I have the great honor and responsibility of walking alongside our state's Gold Star and military surviving families. I am also a Gold Star sister. My brother, Corporal Michael Willett, was killed in Afghanistan in 2009, and he received the Navy Cross on that day for his heroism. And so when I say that this bill matters, I mean it both from my professional standpoint and my personal one as well. Every day in the role that I have, I sit with families who carry grief most people will never fully understand, thankfully. They have not come here asking for any fanfare or special treatment. What they are quietly hoping for is that what they have earned is simply to be seen and remembered for the full weight of the love and loss that they live with. What I know, having lived here for my 48 years of life, is that New Hampshire shows up for its own. We celebrate each other's victories, we rally around our neighbors, and we have an opportunity right now to show our state's Gold Star families what their loss truly means. These families, they're really not asking for anything extraordinary. They're asking for a license plate, a real one. And I believe that this committee is very open to hearing their thoughts and honoring their loved one in such a manner. We currently have a decal plate that honors Gold Star families, and that decal plate served a very specific purpose. It was a bridge from having nothing to having something, and it served its purpose well. I am grateful that we have that bridge, but we can do better, and we should do better. Because every one of these service members left behind whole families who love them and miss them every single day. They had mothers and fathers, some had spouses, children, and siblings who carry that loss year after year. These families deserve equal recognition, not just one plate for one person, but the chance for every eligible family member to be seen, honored, and remembered. A Gold Star license plate may sound like a simple thing, but what it gives these families is something powerful. It gives them a visible reminder that their state sees them and still honors them and has not forgotten their loved one, because for them, remembrance is not optional. I have 2 written statements from Gold Star siblings who could not be here today. And with the committee's permission, I would like to give you copies of them, and I'm happy to read them into the record for you. Thank you. One of them I think is really powerful, so I would like to share it. It is from the sister of Adam Brooks, who was killed in action in 2004, and these are her words. When a service member gives their life, the loss does not end there. It is carried every day by their family. In the past, I sought to honor my brother through the Gold Star license plate program. At that time, eligibility was limited to Gold Star mothers alone, and I was not able to receive recognition as a surviving sibling. And when that recognition is limited to only one person, the memory risks fading when that plate is no longer present. The opportunity now to approve a Gold Star family license plate is more than a policy change. It's a meaningful acknowledgement that all family members deserve to be seen, honored, and remembered. He was my brother, and I carry him with me every day. I've also provided you a statement from Chaplain Eddie Gray Fox Burgess, who is the brother of Alan Burgess, who is also, he died from wounds sustained in combat operations in Iraq. And I ask that you consider his statement as well. The decal plate that we currently have opened a door, but this bill walks us through it to something better. These families have worked really hard and waited for so long, and in some cases almost 20 years for this recognition. And today you can show them that you see them and that you remember their loved ones. And so I thank you very much for your time and consideration. I hope you will support the passage of this bill. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you for the work you do and also for your loss that you suffered.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments? Senator Ward?
Thank you very much for taking my question.
Yes.
How many people are we talking about? And before it was one person could get a license plate. Now you're talking about mothers in addition plus families.
Right.
So do you have any idea how many people we're looking at?
I do. Roughly, I would say somewhere 750 to 800 max. Most may not get a plate. Some may. I can't say for sure. I do have contact with the large majority of Gold Star families in the state, but some are not engaged with support services programs. And so that is the high end, if that's helpful to you.
Okay, follow up?
Yes.
I understand there is a cost for creating this new license plate instead of having a sticker to put on it. What is the cost of making the license plate, special license plate for Gold Star families
I do not know. I think the representative said it was $20,000 is what it would cost.
to make the mold?
Again, I'm not sure.
Okay, okay.
We
Thank
have
you.
the Division of Motor Vehicles. Would you like to come up and address some of Senator Ward's concerns? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. John Marasco, Director of the DMV.
Jennifer O'Leary, Administrator of the Registration Bureau.
So, Senator, to answer your first question, the report was run on the number of Gold Star mother plates that are currently active in the state of New Hampshire, and that number is 35. And I want to thank Administrator O'Leary for doing the great job that she did on the fiscal note. I've heard the conversation here about the decal plates. These plates are much more professional and more fitting for honoring our heroes, and we at the DMV would be honored to have the opportunity to produce these new plate types. And I want to thank Jen for producing a fiscal note that is reasonable and allows us to get there. So I'll turn it over to Jen.
Yes, so thank you for your question. The fiscal note does cover the production of both the Gold Star family and the Gold Star father plate. And the cost associated with this would be anywhere from $28,000 to $55,000, depending on the production of how many. So one of the things to keep in mind is that when we are producing license plates, there is a charge that's associated, right, with your registration fees that does cover the cost of that. This is actually going to allow us to cover the cost of the plate, and it's not going to be a large increase to our production right now.
Okay, thank you. I just know because several years ago, we had a similar discussion about special plates for, special organizations or special people. And the question always came to how much does it cost to actually make the plate? So that's why I'm sort of curious about it. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak to House Bill 1078? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing on 1078. Vivian, I have a procedural question. We'd be a little bit behind, but can we go into executive and do the amendment while the family's here? Explain later. We're not doing it all of a sudden. Yeah, for this. Okay, so, okay. Well, we'll do that for, yeah. So, for now, we're going to do something a little out of the ordinary, but while we have, Lori and Stephen here, we're going to go into executive session and we're going to go, do the amendment and discuss, 1078. So motion to go in executive. Okay,
Second.
thank you. We are now in executive session.
I would like to offer committee amendment. Move ought to pass on 10078.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Yes, you have a minute.
Now I'd like to offer committee amendment to 10078. It would be changing line 20, removing at the end of the line, striking and adding such as birth certificate, comma, on line 22, striking recognized authority, and then continuing marriage certificate or United States Department of Veterans Affairs VA benefit letter. My understanding is the language presently on how this would, if I could address this, is very restrictive and hard for family members to be able to get the documentation that's needed to do this. And this change would make it easier for not only the family members, but also DMV to be able to comply with this. The language is here in highlight.
Second amendment?
All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. None opposed. Now, I'd like a motion on the bill with the amendment. Oh, so,
We gotta vote
On the whole-
so I'd like ought to pass as amended. All those in favor? Aye. None opposed. I'd like a motion to come out of executive.
Move consent.
Does anybody want to speak to this or you want it on consent?
We can take it off if they want to.
Yeah, we're gonna take.
All right, then I'll second consent. All those in favor of consent, please say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? I'll take it out. And let's have
Motion
a,
to leave executive session.
so moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that was the committee about that. So what about this other one by Gannon?
You said to ignore it.
Yeah, Ruth, we met with Gannon in the hallway, and the sponsor said that he will work with them to bring new language forward at another time.
Okay.
But it was gonna come up the works today, so he said he'd be happy to do that.
All right, now we got to get back on track. Okay. Okay. Now what are we
Show you
at?
my roads in town look like that.
We're at 14, oh, I don't, 1483.
Yeah, can I introduce it from here?
Yeah, after I open, or you, yes. Welcome. Now, Representative, just make sure. We didn't want it on there. All right. All right, everybody. On to the next bill. We're going to open the hearing on House Bill 1483, and Senator McConkey is going to introduce it for the representative.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, committee members. I'd like to offer House Bill 1483 FN, creating a motor vehicle license plate for amateur radio operators. And if I could comment on that after the introduction.
It's a little noisy.
Yeah,
Whenever you're ready, you can.
okay. Thank you all. I was not a sponsor on this bill, nor was I asked to be a sponsor on this bill, but I have a family of amateur radio operators, my mom and dad, myself, my wife. Over the years, I've got nephews, cousins that are all radio operators. I grew up in the summertime in the fall with my family, camping up on hillsides all across New England, doing field days. My parents were World War II, and it's not just to that area, but when emergencies happen and their communication lines are down, we all seem to think that cell phones are going to work forever and not have to worry about it. We think that the communication towers with the state police are always going to work. I can tell you that the amateur radio community is a valid community that rolls out anytime there is an issue. And in the state of Massachusetts, where a lot of my family resides, in other states, they do have this exact same license plate. It'll be their call sign, and usually with insignia in between. I always thought it was a lightning bolt. But it's a way of recognizing these people's service, and when they roll into a location, working with state police and others, it has some validity to what they're there for. I can tell you that Dancer worked out a pilot program with the amateur radio, a couple of the amateur radio groups to keep repeater service available. And it's on a pilot program to make sure that these systems are working and functioning and valuable. So I wholeheartedly support this. We've already heard testimony from the director on what the cost would be. And I think the benefit to public safety far outweighs that. Thank you. Happy to take questions.
Any questions or comments? Okay, let's see. We have Richard Kahn, who'd like to speak.
Yes, please.
Yes, come forward. Nice
Well,
to
I
see you.
should thank Senator McConkey for reduces the amount that I need to say. So thank you for your support in advance. My name's Richard Kahn. I've been a ham radio operator since 1973. And as other people have pointed out, that all the things that a lot of people take for granted that hams do, for example, during Hurricane Gloria, my wife is also a ham, by the way. During Hurricane Gloria, we both sat at what was then called PSNH, and we took trouble calls. This is before cell phones even existed. We took trouble calls and passed them to the dispatcher. And I got this letter from PSNH, and thank you. I can make copies of that if you'd like. So we've helped out during emergencies. The previous governor, a few governors ago, this is a picture. I'd like this back. I can send people, I can make copies and send it. I apologize for not bringing copies for everybody, but I could pass this around. I'm the only one in that picture with a beard. And basically, former Governor Sununu, John H. Sununu, I should specify, was proclaiming an amateur radio week, I believe. And now, other things that I've done for via ham radio is supporting the Civil Air Patrol, locating ELTs, emergency locator transmitters. That's to simulate a downed aircraft, and I would babysit the transmitter, and the CAP aircraft would try to locate where the downed aircraft is. Hurricane Katrina, taking health and welfare traffic. Thank you. Taking health and welfare traffic for people in the disaster area. Boston Marathon, which was just yesterday. I didn't walk do the marathon, but I did the Boston Marathon Jimmy Fund walk. And I was not only walking to benefit the charity, but I had a radio with me to help provide communication support. And I believe it was pointed out, Senator McConkey, also, you mentioned Field Day. That's something we do on a regular basis. It looks like a contest, but it's really an emergency preparedness exercise. And basically, hams like myself go out in the middle of a field, set up antennas and transmitters, and operate usually on emergency power. Now, one of the other things that I personally do, these tags here, I am a volunteer examiner, which means I am authorized by the Federal Communications Commission to provide communication support by administering the test for people wanting to get their ham radio license. And I should point out, we do all that at no cost. So I support this bill because I don't know, the fiscal note, basically, like you mentioned, what they do in Massachusetts, they have the lightning bolt. And usually it's the ham radio call letters with a lightning bolt between the first and last part of it. Something giving recognition to hams for the public service that they provide for free. And it is a negligible amount because the cost will be largely borne by the hams themselves who want this plate. I'm going to pay the same vanity fee that any other vanity call sign would be incumbent on. More recently, our current governor, you can keep this because I have it on my computer. I just printed that out. That's a proclamation that Governor Ayotte did last year, marking June of 2025 as Amateur Radio Month here in New Hampshire. So there is precedent at the executive level to support this bill. And with that, I will take any questions.
Any questions? I don't have any. No, seeing none. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you for your time.
Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak to House Bill 1483? Please come forward.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jennifer O'Leary, and I am the Registration Bureau Administrator over at the Division of Motor Vehicles. I just wanted to provide some informational testimony on the language of this bill that was discussed, I believe, in previous testimony through House. This says that if you look on line 1, it says new section, vanity number plates identifying decals for amateur radio operators. And then it talks about amending where that language is going to go. When we talk about decals in the law, that does reference our decal plates. Decal plates are blank plates that allow for a 3x3 inch decal to be displayed. And those are only allowed for a nonprofit organization. It was my understanding that the intent of the language of the 2 bills that were put forward for amateur radio operators was to design a new plate showing that lightning bolt. We do have the capabilities of doing that through the DMV, and the fiscal note would represent that. But I just wanted to point out, but the way the language states right now, it would indicate that you are going to approve a decal sticker for a decal plate, which I do not believe is what the intent of this language is.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. And Jennifer, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for finding that. That's
Yes.
that's a big. Would it be possible? It's an FN bill. Would it be possible to? Well, I don't have the sponsor here. Is it possible to draft an amendment to help? If the amendment was offered, that switched this from being a decal to a plate, which is what they're looking for, a stamped plate. Would that be disagreeable to the department?
No, it would not. And just so that you know, the fiscal note that's attached is written to reflect a new plate type, not a decal.
And what's that fiscal note?
25,000.
Okay. It's an FN, so.
Yep, has to be done by next week. Would the department work with me to come up with language to accomplish this?
I'd be happy to, we can take a look at it. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for bringing that situation
welcome.
forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Anyone from the public want to speak?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Walsh, a representative from Hooksett and Dunbarton, and I serve on the House Transportation Committee. I apologize for my wardrobe. I wasn't expecting to speak today, but this issue that was just brought up by the department is the reason I'm coming up. I don't know if it needs an amendment or not. We can talk about it afterwards. I will certainly help with you, Senator McConkey, because that's really just the new section, the enacting clause, or if you get into from line 3 down, it doesn't refer to decals at all. So I don't know if we need an amendment or not, but I will double check on that. The other thing, excuse me, I'm out of breath too. I just had to feed my meter. The other thing too, I know it's been talked about, the decals versus the plates. For years, the transportation has been saying no to the plates because of the sheer cost. In the past, in my 14 years here, we used to hear $230,000 a piece, and that was a no-go, and that's why we came up with a decal plate program to begin with. However, now that the Department of Motor Vehicles has been authorized, and I believe there's an RFP out, or maybe even beyond that, to get this whole new procedure for making plates, we're being told that the price is going to come down dramatically. So the hopes, and the reason we did this, not just because it's not a non-for-profit. Hopefully, we can get away from the decal plates in the future, because to be honest with you, as hard as we worked on them, I don't think many people like them. So this is an all good thing. I hope you can support it, and I will follow up with you on whether or not we need an amendment for that or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll ask again, anyone else from the public want to speak on 1483? Seeing none, we will close the hearing on 1483 and go right into opening the hearing on House Bill 1698. Call the representative up. Is he here? Oh, yeah, there you are. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the, members of the committee. I'm having an issue. Yeah,
He's so nice.
sorry.
That's okay, take your time.
Thank you. Jesus Christ.
No, 1698.
Okay.
That's not good.
Not quite sure what's going on. For the record, my name's Tom Manion. I'm representing Hillsborough 1 Pelham. This bill came to my attention from a constituent during the idea for this bill came from a constituent during our process with the HB2, where we legalized. Thank you so much. Yeah. We legalized the use of electronics IDs. It was allowed. You can have it on your digital device, things along those nature. But so what ended up happening is a bunch of people in my town were very put off guard by, or put on guard by this, because what ended up happening during COVID, if we remember, in certain areas of the world, digital IDs ended up being a cudgel by which the government forced compliance amongst their citizenry. So if you didn't keep your vaccines up to date, you spoke, even in some cases, if you speak poorly against your government, your ID would just no longer work. You couldn't access transportation, couldn't go to work, can't buy things from the store. So not only that, but there's individuals in my community are also not necessarily technologically capable. So I've had multiple phone calls about this, and their concern was that this bill that allows for the use of an electronic ID would eventually be pushed into a mandated digital ID. So I filed this bill in hopes of alleviating those fears and getting out ahead of this to ensure that going forward, these IDs will not be mandated, and they will not be, they don't have to be forced upon businesses to accept them either, because we've seen how government can work around privacy expectations by working through third party or the private market by asking them to force compliance. So this bill's purpose was strictly to alleviate the fears of the individuals in my community and people that asked me to straight up vote against the budget because the electronic ID was in there. I did not, but I understand their fears, and especially coming off of COVID, and we saw how, especially in China and other countries, that digital IDs could be used to undermine civil liberties.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I had a lot of emails about privacy concerns.
Yeah.
Are there questions or comments? All right,
Thank
seeing
you.
none, thank you for your testimony. He's a good egg. Are there any other members of the public or anyone who would like to speak on House Bill 1698? All right, seeing none. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, would the director like to, I believe we've had this conversation in the past about electronic IDs. Have we had other bills for that? And do you have a viewpoint on this, please?
Thank you, Senator. Madam Chair, members of the committee, John Marasco from the DMV. Yeah, we don't have any issue with this bill. Around the country, those states that have created and implemented the mobile driver license, they do so on an opt-in basis. And actually, AMVA, which I'm looking at on my phone, the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, their best practices document on mobile driver licenses is that the driver would still carry the physical card on their person in conjunction with, if they choose to have the mobile driver's license on, for instance, their cell phone. So we were very pleased that last session, mobile driver licenses were etched into law, and it gave the DMV at some point with a funding source the opportunity to offer that down the road. But certainly continuing to rely on the card and making it an opt-in program would be the way to go for the very foreseeable future. So, and that's what other states around the country have done as well.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
So just to follow up, if I
Yes, sir.
could. So we already have this in statute. We just haven't implemented it.
Correct.
And so if we were to pass House Bill 1698, it would just be added in there saying you can't compel a person to use that ID. Wouldn't affect the program that someday will be rolled out.
I don't think so, based on the way that the language is here, because the change that I see is just making it optional. So I don't think it will reverse what we already have in statute, based on how I read this bill.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Senator.
Madam Chair, may I ask?
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you for taking my question. So we talk about mobile driver's licenses, non-driver identification cards, and also electronic credentials. What else is besides driver's license? What else is an electronic credential in your world?
Yeah, for our purposes in the DMV world, it really is the mobile driver license. And there are things that can be done with the mobile driver license that can be used for other purposes other than just driving. So for instance, like the state of California, they have different vendors, different platforms that you can, for instance, go into the California DMV, renew your license, leave with a hard copy license, and then after the fact choose either through Apple Wallet and some other different platforms to create through the DMV with that partnership a mobile driver license. There are some features that you can use that license for. For instance, somebody that would like to use the mobile driver license to go into a liquor establishment may not want their address visible for that purpose. They may just want their photo and their date of birth, just showing that they're over 21, because they don't want to divulge where they live to the individual at the door or anybody that asks. So there are different features where you can allow certain information in certain situations to be visible. But of course, for those states like Louisiana that are using the mobile driver license, and law enforcement has scanners, so at roadside you can hold your phone out and you can scan the license as opposed to giving the hard card to the trooper. In those situations, all the information that would regularly be on a license has to be on the mobile driver license as well. So it's a great question, Senator. From my perspective, just the mobile driver license and how it's used for driving and providing it to law enforcement, as well as, TSA is another one. TSA is accepting the mobile driver license at different security checkpoints around the country. Not every airport accepts it as of yet, but the numbers are growing, so it can be used for that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you, Senators.
Okay. Any other members of the public on House Bill 1698? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing on 1698, and we will now open the hearing on House Bill 1594. And we have Representative Miller as the sponsor. Oh, a sponsor. You're here to introduce.
But I'm here to introduce. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members of the committee, for the record, Representative Seth Miller, Stratford County 21, representing Dover District Wards 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. This bill is about proportionality and fairness, and making things much more reasonable for operators of small electric vehicles. Some years ago, when EVs were introduced in New Hampshire, we realized that we weren't getting any gas tax revenue from them because they don't buy gas, and decided to implement a registration fee. We set it at $100. It was basically roughly based on the expected average number of gallons driven times the gas tax, et cetera, how many gallons they were to buy, it came out to about $100 was the average. That made a lot of sense for most of these vehicles because they were full-size cars and people were using them as daily drivers and whatnot. Where it stops making sense is when you're dealing with an electric moped, an electric motorcycle that may not be a daily driver. We have neighborhood electric vehicles now, the sort of golf carts that stay local in town, things like that. Those are lighter vehicles, lower capacity, and not doing nearly as much mileage. So you might be tooling around town, on your little electric scooter, paying $100 as a registration fee for that, on top of your $3 actual registration fee, just didn't make sense. And so what we've done here is switch from a flat rate of $100 for every EV to a tiered by weight. And we used gross vehicle weight rating, the GVWR. That was actually an amendment. We originally started with curb weight. The Department of Motor Vehicles asked us to switch to GVWR because they already have those numbers in their database. Your registration has that number associated with it, so this makes it much easier to actually implement. But again, 1 to 1,000 pounds is basically your small electric scooters, single rider vehicles. No charge for those. They also do very little damage to the roads, which is a lot of what the money we're raising is used to cover. You go up to the 1,000 to 3,000 pound vehicles. That's going to be your neighborhood electric vehicles generally. From what we looked at, we didn't find any what I would call normal car EVs that were under 3,000 pounds, subject to change if smaller cars come out. But again, these are not your normal cars. 3,000 to 8,000 pounds is basically every EV on the road. There's a couple exceptions that are in the over 8,000 pound category, and those we thought it made sense to raise the rate slightly because, again, heavier vehicles, more damage to the roads, paying their fair share to support those repairs. I believe that's probably everything I can share with you that we need to know, but I'm happy to take any questions or answer anything if anyone.
Senator Fenton?
Thank you, and thank you for taking my question. You mentioned this a little bit. Any fear? Technology changes fast.
Sure.
And there's a Chinese company called BYD. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Quite.
Very small, lightweight electric vehicles. Are we tying our hands if these lighter weight EVs come out and we have in statute that it goes by weight?
We are certainly setting that is where we want the numbers to be. I don't think we are tying our hands per se so much as acknowledging that heavier vehicles create more damage, and heavier vehicles typically would have purchased more gas. And so as such, it remains a proportional situation. If some of these come in and they're just under 3,000 pounds, so they engineer it to be $29.99 or whatever, yes, that driver would save $50 a year. I don't think that as a state we are going to come up short on revenues relative to the work that needs to go into maintaining our roads as a result of that. So, we could have tried to do it by defining what the type of vehicle is, use words like scooter and neighborhood electric vehicle and such. Again, things change quickly. And if you sat in on some of our hearings earlier this year when trying to define what an other class vehicle is, because there are types of vehicles we have that are not registered and they don't exist in statute, but they're on our roads. Those were entertaining, shall we say.
Well, actually, follow up. I want to know now. I got to tell them.
The little mono wheel thing that's looks like a skateboard, but the big wheel in the middle that you roll around in. They're vehicles that you wouldn't necessarily have to register, so they might not be. This might not be applicable to them, but there are types of vehicles and we went with Department of Safety, the DMV, and various other groups the folks running the OHRV rules, trying to figure out where things fit. If you have a dirt bike that happens to be electric, does the fact that it has pedals on it but it goes 50 miles an hour, it's not registered, but it is registered for OHRV use, but it's not allowed on the roads, all of those things. So if we tried to use those words, I think we would have a similar set of problems in definitions. And we are going to try to fix those definitions on our side and hopefully get there somewhere for next year. But in the meantime, I think going by weight, again, that proportional damage and proportional value to the state revenue, I think it made the most sense from our perspective, and I hope you agree.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator McConkey?
Thank you. During the House testimony, did you or DMV come up with what they have presently registered? And it talks about a note here of a one-time system charge of $45,000. Is it appear to be that we're going to gain that much revenue and more if this were to happen?
I will defer to the DMV and ask one of them to answer this or just nod along behind me. But my understanding is the original fiscal note was based on the original way that we had defined the weights, which is that we were using curb weight. And by switching to GVWR, which is numbers they already had in their system, it made it, if not fully eliminating the cost, made it much more reasonable to do. Maybe? No, am I wrong?
I think
I'm wrong. It's still going to cost us money. I thought it got us closer.
I'll ask the
Yeah.
one.
So, does it cost money to change things? Yes. We still think it's the right thing to do in terms of charging people what their actual usage on the roads.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Jennifer, do you want to come back and answer a couple of questions? Thank you.
Could I ask a question first?
Yeah, it was for you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. We should get a seat here for you frequently. So we presently charge electric vehicles a registration fee. Is this fee then going to be on top of that fee that we're charging?
It's my understanding that we're taking that $100 fee and we're actually breaking this down into weight-based category. As Representative Miller had explained, a moped with an electric motor who drives in some breakdown lanes and kind of zips through town a little bit with tiny little tractor wheels was being charged the same amount as someone with a pickup truck that's motoring down the road on a regular basis. So I think that it's my understanding that this was tiered to be equitable amongst the vehicles that are going to be operating while still being able to make up the revenue loss by going to an electric motor. As it relates to the fiscal note will not change. Any changes that we're making to our system that are going to involve the financial piece, we have multiple systems that we have to interface with, not just our town and city clerks who are going to be collecting these fees at the time of registration, but also this has to be paid out, right? We're not going to maintain that revenue at the Division of Motor Vehicles. So that is actually going to go into our New Hampshire First system and distributed out to additional accounts accordingly. And there is IT involvement in that, and that's where that fiscal note comes from.
So if I could. So I didn't realize that all electric, you're saying the scooter was being charged a registration fee?
$100 on top of their $3 annual fee. And the reason that mopeds are only charged $3 is because it is a very limited use vehicle that's only on the road for a very limited amount of time here in New Hampshire.
But they are being charged $100.
$100.
Some might argue that's not enough money for that nuisance that travels on the highways. And I would hope that this isn't a way of making that equitable backwards for them. So I just want to make sure. So we are, the original, as I remember, I have the chairman here and I have transportation here. I believe when the registration fee was figured for getting some money from electric vehicles, because we weren't getting monies from them from buying gasoline, we'd figured at a number somewhere around 12,000 miles a year of a typical usage of 10 or 12,000 miles. And then we figured what we were losing for revenue for gas, and that's how we came up with that original number. I just want to be assured that if we pass this, we're not discounting that backwards.
I wouldn't be able to speak to that. I'm not involved in how those calculations were deemed. I only know that this is written into being able to collect it on a vehicle registration. We're just kind of the catalyst of collecting that money and distributing it accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on House Bill 1594? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing on 1594. And finally, thank you for your patience today. We will open the hearing on House Bill 2026. Big one.
Yes, that's tremendous. Tremendous.
What I want to do is,
They changed the effective date.
is it possible if after the introduction, we do the two amendments?
What's that?
After we do the introduction, I'd like to get the two amendments in, because I have people from New Boston sitting here, been waiting, and I want to be able to let them leave.
For,
This bill, transportation, I want to put the amendments in after it's introduced. What? Yeah, and I wanted to put them in, because I also have a meeting on the third floor at 3 that I have to be at, so I'm gonna have to run up and run back down. But I want to get the amendments in, because I have constituents from New Boston sitting here, and we're behind. Do you get what I'm doing?
I
Follow
know
me?
what you're doing. Shouldn't we introduce House Bill?
After it's introduced, I want to do the amendments.
For which bill?
The one we're on, Oh, well, can we get the people that are here to come speak to it or not? They came a long way. Well, the amendment in the 10-year plan. Oh, geez. Okay.
You want to speak to them before we start?
I'd like to do that, just,
No, would you like to speak to your people and tell them that they're going to be delayed? That's all.
okay, let me,
He has to. Hey, Tom, thank you for pulling that amendment. The senators pulled that amendment language for the other bill. And I'll talk to you about, and I'll speak with Jennifer.
and then there's a
Yeah.
amendment for ball. I don't, let me go talk to them.
Well, we need to speak with Jennifer. Would you mind speaking with Jennifer about that?
Yep, I've already spoken.
You've already said we're okay with it?
As long as decal doesn't make it into the language in the law, then it's gonna be totally fine, and it'll be a design of the place.
So we could pass that as is?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you both. Sorry to hold you up, David.
They can, but I just want to make they could get introduced and then go.
Where the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, well, I wanted them to know so they have an option of sitting or going. I have a meeting on the third floor at 3 o'clock with the veterans. I'll step out and introduce each other, let them work, and I'll come back.
Nothing around a place, I hope.
No. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm Representative David E. Mills, Rockingham 13 Dairy, Chairman of Public Works and Highways, and I'm here to present House Bill 2026, the 10-year plan. As presented to the Governor and Council, the 10-year plan faced a $300 to $400 million shortfall, and the appropriate cuts and projects were removed accordingly. The Executive Council added back 13 projects at a cost of $255 million. Public Works, upon consultation with the DOT, approved 11 of those projects for $23 million and cut the 2 largest projects for a savings of $233 million. Public Works also approved the addition of 1 further project for $6.8 million with the approval of the DOT. Basically, that's it, and it's in my amendment on the first page, and there's a recap of everything I just told you on this little add-on blue sheet. And as far as questions, I brought my DOT posse with me, so I would defer any and all questions to them unless they were regarding to the process of how Public Works arrived at their decisions.
Good job. Senator McConkey?
Well, while we have you here, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to acknowledge all the work that Public Works does and hammers through this 10-year process with Department of Transportation, spending weeks on hearings and so forth, and then coming to a conclusion. Your work is not lost on myself or the Senate committee. I want to applaud you for all of that work in your committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. When I recited all this, it didn't sound like 8 weeks of work, but it certainly was. And thank you. And as I said, I'll defer any and all questions to my posse back here, DOT.
Good afternoon. You can come forward. Nice to see you.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name's David Rodriguez, Commissioner of Department of Transportation. With me is Toby Reynolds, the Director of Project Development, and we come prepared to give you as much or as little information as you would like. So from a handout perspective, you have a 10-year plan book that includes all of the projects that are proposed in the 10-year plan and some introductory pages that gives you some information on the financing and so forth. We've provided you a copy of the presentation that describes the GASSET process and what got us to where we are today, that we're prepared to present to you today. And we also have another handout that shows the change log. So the changes between what the council came up with, what the draft plan that we put before the council, the changes that GASSET made through their recommendation, the governor's changes, which she did not make any, and then the House Public Works changes. So if it pleases the committee, Toby will go ahead and walk through our presentation, or if you'd prefer just to ask questions, that is fine as well. It's your pleasure.
Members?
The presentation.
Okay.
You like it? Why wouldn't we?
I've done it a few times, and I'll buzz through it fairly quickly for you, and you can tell me to slow down if I'm going too fast. So we'll skip right to slide 3 in the outline. So I'm just going to go through the funding overview, the draft 10-year plan strategies that the department came up with, what the Transportation Alternative Program is and the projects that we included in this version of the 10-year plan. Then we'll go over the what we heard at the GASSET hearings that we held, and then changes to bring us to the current plan that you have in front of you. So on slide 4, it's high-level funding overview. It's about a $4.5 billion plan over the course of the 10 years. Within that plan, we break it into 2 general categories: roads and bridges, which accounts for about 85% of the plan, and then other modes, which was airport, rail, and transit. So slide 5 is the breakdown of the other modes. For air, it's mostly funded by the FAA or federal funds, with some state and local match. The local match is the operators. This funding pays for runway and taxiway improvements, lighting, runway obstruction removal, and the like. The rail portion of the plan is mostly state funded, supported by lease agreements with operators of the state's lines. Those funds pay for inspection of bridges and minor repairs like culverts. And then lastly, in the largest piece of the other modes is the transit. Transit is also mostly funded by federal aid, or the FTA, also supported by state and transit agency match. These funds can pay for local and capital and operational expenses. And some of the services that are contained within that program include local public transit, commuter and intercity bus service like Coast, and then transportation services for seniors and individuals with disabilities. This funding mostly has stayed the same in this version of the 10-year plan. There's no reduction or increase appreciably. They have defined uses, and funds can't be transferred between the different modes between air, rail, and transit. So switching now to the roads and bridges portion of the of the plan, starts on slide 6. And some general themes associated with all those funding sources, that being federal, state, and turnpike funds. His revenue is relatively flat and lower than our previous projections and previous plans. We see project costs going up due to inflation, escalation. In federal and turnpike projects, their costs are exceeding our revenue. We're also seeing some state revenue being redirected to pay for debt service, which I'll go over in a minute. All of this leads to an overall reduction in the number of projects in our proposal not to add any new projects to this version of the 10-year plan. So the next thing we did is we looked at kind of our guiding principles of the roads and bridges portion of the plan. Like, what things do we really want to maintain within the plan? And we started with maintenance and preservation, keeping the things that we have in operation in good condition. We've made really good progress with our pavement condition over the years. We continue to meet our goals in that area, and we want to continue that. Also, we've seen a leveling out of our red list bridges, right around 110, 115 bridges. We don't want to lose momentum there. We don't want to see it go in the other direction, so we want to continue our investment in red list bridges. We also want to continue our investment on a lot of our core maintenance areas like, I said paving and bridges, but guardrail, culverts, overhead sign structures, signals, all those things that we have currently in operation, we want to keep in good condition. And we also want to continue to spend at the same or a lot higher level in our safety programs. So moving right into the state portion of the funding, this is on slide 8. This represents about 10% of the overall plan. A couple of things that changed in the state level in this plan is that we've seen betterment. The betterment revenues are essentially flat or slightly have been reducing. And this is mostly due to more efficient vehicles. So we haven't seen mileage of vehicles go down, but the efficiency of vehicles have increased. And so we've seen a flattening out or a slight reduction in betterment funds. Also, like I mentioned, there's a redirection of the 4.2 cents of road toll that was established when the state took out a TIFIA loan to finish I-93. That 4.2 cents, up until this year, we've been able to use the revenue generated from that increase to continue to invest in rural pavements and bridges. Now that I-93 expansion has been complete, we now need to transfer that revenue to our debt service on the loan that we took out. And therefore, it's about $20 million reduction in our investment in rural pavements and bridges. So that we don't lose the momentum that we've gained by approximately 10 years of investment at that level, we're looking to redirect some of our federal funds to fill that gap. Not the full 20 million, but about 16 million or so of federal funds where we want to redirect to continue investing in pavements in red list bridges. So that's the major change for the state, the 10% or so of the overall budget in the 10-year plan. To move on to the Fed portion of the plan, slide 9. This is the biggest portion of the 10-year plan. It represents about 62% of the plan. So there's a few more slides associated with this section of the plan. Some high-level assumptions, changes to the plan that I think are important to mention is that the federal reauthorization, or the BIL, IIJA, the current Transportation Act, expires in September of 2026. We fully expect Federal Highway or USDOT to establish another surface transportation bill before the end of the year, but we don't know what that looks like at this point. So we assume that level funding the 10-year plan, the federal portion of the 10-year plan, out over the 10 years until we have more certainty in that act. The other thing that we did in this plan is we increased the inflation rate from 3.7 to 4.4%. We do that every 2 years. We evaluate what the inflation rate should be based on construction trends, and we recommend 4.4% in this 10-year plan. Additionally, Federal Highway allows us to charge an indirect cost rate to all of our projects in the federal program, and this is to pay for the people and systems that aren't directly related to a project cost to deliver the program. We're looking to increase that by 2% from 10 to 12%. Lastly, we saw about 22 projects move out of the end years of the 2 years that are falling out of the 10-year plan. So it would be 25 and 26. And those projects have moved into this 10-year plan. They've been delayed. And that adds about $130 million to this 10-year plan. So in overall projects have increased as construction bids come in. We readjust our estimates for projects in the plan, and we've seen an overall increase in the cost of the projects. Based on all of these adjustments, we see about a $400 million over programming in the federal program. So slide 10, things that are in the plan currently is, like I said, we want to continue to invest in preservation and maintenance. And that accounts for about $1.4 billion in the plan over the 10 years. We also want to keep all red list bridges in the plan, and we want to keep all non-red list bridges in the plan to keep our good bridges in good condition. We also want to keep in all of the local public agency projects, which are municipal projects. We partner with them on these projects. They have an investment in these projects, as do we, and we want to keep those in the plan. So the only thing that leaves to look at to bring the current Fed portion of the plan into, what's the word I'm looking for?
Fiscal constraint.
Constraint is the individual projects. There's 88 of them in the plan, and they total about $684 million. So that's what we'll look at on the next couple of slides. Thank you, Dave. So of the 88 projects, we ranked each of the 88 projects based on merit and risk. Merit being their value to the overall transportation system, their safety value, etc. And then risk, mostly financial risk. If we have invested money into these projects, they create risk for us. We may need to pay some of those funds back to Federal Highway if we stop working on them. And then we rank those projects into categories either being in the 10-year plan, delayed, which means we would remove the construction funds but continue to progress the designs of those projects, or out, projects we propose to be removed from the plan. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to go into the conference room for a meeting I'm supposed to be in. I'm not going to stay, but I have to introduce and run back down.
Okay.
But you can keep going.
Okay, very good.
Sorry about that.
Happy to.
I guess I'm just overbooked. I have to earn that $100 a year.
Great. Okay, so slide 12 breaks down the projects that how they flushed out after the ranking process. So of the 88 projects, 39 stayed in the plan as they were. 15 projects, we propose to remove the construction from those projects. So they're still in the 10-year plan, but construction funds have been removed. They're pretty big projects the construction for those projects totaled about $200 million. And then we propose to remove about 34 projects from the plan, totaling about $100 million. The other thing of note is that typically in the 2 new years that we add to the 10-year plan, we add new projects, mostly that the RPC has, slide 12, mostly that the RPC has submitted to us for inclusion. Because of our over-programming, we're proposing not to add any new projects to the 10-year plan. So that wraps up the federal portion of the plan. The last part of the plan is turnpikes. It makes up about 13% of the overall 10-year plan. And I want to preface these next few slides in that this is what we presented at the Gassett hearings in the fall. I know there's been a lot of discussion about turnpikes lately, so some of these might be slightly outdated. but I'll run through them as we presented them to the public through the GASSET process. So the Turnpike system is an enterprise system supported by toll collection. So any funds we take in on the Turnpike, we need to then spend on back onto the Turnpike. They can't be spent on other roads in the state. There's three basic sections of the Turnpike: the Blue Star Turnpike, which is I-95, the Spalding Turnpike, Route 16 from Portsmouth to Milton, and then the Central Turnpike, or the Effie Everett Turnpike, from Massachusetts up to Concord. We're moving to slide 14. Similar to the state and the federal funding sections of the 10-year plan, we see actual revenue is lower than projected in the previous plan and approximately flat. Essentially, there was a big dip during the pandemic. It's rebounded slightly, but still not to a level that we would have expected if the pandemic hadn't occurred. Operating costs are increasing much faster than revenue. And the Turnpike R&R program, or rehab and reconstruction program, has increased to meet the maintenance needs of the Turnpike system as we've expanded it over the past 30 or 40 years. So this, like the federal program, the last thing to look at to constrain the Turnpike program is the capital projects. And that's what we'll talk about next on slide 15. So to constrain the capital program at current funding levels, there's basically three large projects on the Turnpike that we reviewed. Nashua Merrimack Bedford, currently under construction. This is the Effie Everett Turnpike widening. We will continue to invest in that project. We need to spread the spending out over a couple extra years to stay fiscally constrained on the Turnpike. For Bow Concord, we'd propose to continue to design that project, bring it through a public hearing in the environmental documentation required. But at the current funding levels, there's not enough funds to support the construction for that project. Because of that, we have also added about $75 million to the draft 10-year plan to account for red list bridges in that corridor that will need to be addressed if the Bow Concord expansion project does not occur. Manchester Exit 6 and 7, again, there's no funding to construct that project. We would continue with the design similar to Bow Concord, bring it through another public hearing. There is one project in the 10-year plan at Exit 6 on 293, which will close the northern southbound on-ramp and reconstruct the southern southbound on-ramp to be a safer on-ramp with a longer merge area. Moving to slide 16, what we presented in part of the GASSET hearings, and we believe, is that removing Bow Concord and Manchester Exit 6 and 7 really isn't responsible from a transportation standpoint. They're needed for safety. They're both built in the 60s with outdated interchanges, doesn't match the current traffic volumes that we see or speeds at those interchanges. They're needed mostly Bow Concord's needed more, in addition, I guess, to support the economy, is to eliminate the backups for traffic traveling north or south on the weekend, Friday afternoons, Sunday afternoons, and even weekdays in Concord, we're seeing the backups occur more regularly. Where the revenue enhancement or toll increase, there would be funds to fund Bow Concord, Manchester Exit 6 and 7 safety project. We could add other safety projects like conversion of the Hampton all electronic tolling, and then to potentially include a Type 2 sound wall program to address citizen noise complaints. Slide 17 and 18, slide 17, excuse me, just go through a brief history of the tolling over the years. 2007 was the last statewide, last system-wide toll increase. And like I said, current toll revenue is below pre-pandemic levels. What we presented to the public is we were looking at about a $1 increase at the major toll plazas, so Hampton, Bedford, and Hooksett. In that currently New Hampshire is the lowest as cost per mile on the toll system. And with this increase, we would not be the lowest, we would move to 26th out of 32. So still pretty low overall when compared to other toll authorities when you compare cost per mile. I know there's been lots of talk about this recently, but that's what we presented to the public when we went through the Gasset hearings. So that wraps up all of the funding sections of the 10-year plan as presented on that graph on slide 4. The last thing that we presented to the public was the Transportation Alternatives Program. We do this every 4 years or every other 10-year plan. This is for projects for non-motorized active transportation projects for the bike facilities, rail trails. And this year, we budgeted, or in this round of the 10-year plan, we budgeted $33 million for these projects. We received 30 applications totaling $50 million. After reviewing and scoring those applications, what's included in this plan is 17 projects at the $33 million budget. The next couple of slides is kind of a wrap up of our Gasset hearings. We had 26 public hearings in the Gasset process, 119 hearing participants, and we had about 762 comments, either written, in person, or online comments. We break down the general themes here, and just a couple of fun facts about the DOT travel. There's about 2,300 miles traveled to visit all of these hearing locations. A few themes that we heard, page 20 or slide 20, was the public supported our guiding principle of maintenance and preservation to continue to invest in what we have, keep it in good shape. They also support balancing the 10-year plan or bringing it into fiscal constraint. We saw lots of advocacy for local projects, depending on where we were around the state. People showed up and really spoke in favor of projects that were important to their communities. And that's reflected in some of the changelog projects that were added. There was also lots of support to fund and maintain or expand mobility services, buses and ride services, trails and paths, and support to include the projects that I spoke about with the Transportation Alternative Program, those 17 projects. The other two major themes was, and we solicited this feedback as well through the hearings, was general agreement that an increase in toll revenue is needed. And there was also lots of talk about the road toll and the increasing the road toll, although that's not something that we really included in our presentation, but we did hear lots of testimony on that. And a general agreement that Bow Concord, the I-93 expansion, and Manchester I-293 exit 6 and 7 projects should be included in the 10-year plan. So I have a slide here reserved for the changelog. I don't know that we need to go through that in great detail, other than that's what Commissioner Rodriguez noted earlier. And then the last two slides sum up the changes between what was presented to the public and then what Gasset passed on to the governor, is the slide 23. So now projects that are in the 10-year plan, in the federal program, this is the federal program, it was 39, it went up to 47. Delayed, one additional project was added back in from the delayed list. There was 7 less projects that were removed and 2 new projects added. Then also the Gasset added $256 million in construction back to Manchester exit 6 and 7, which Representative Mills mentioned. And then slide 24, essentially everything is the same as slide 23, except there was one new project added from the House, and the House removed the $256 million in construction for Manchester exit 6 and 7. That's how we get to the book that we handed out to you folks today. Hope that wasn't too fast, or maybe it wasn't fast enough, but thank you.
Thank you for that. If I could ask you a question or two, and then I'll open it up to the Senate committee here. So the Senate passed legislation to increase the tolls with our friends from out of state paying for the improvements. And that passed, and it's going to be sitting in the House here this week, and I believe it's sitting there in consent. And if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, when Public Works first started in this project, they had drafted a version of the 10-year plan in the event those revenues came forward. Did that happen? And then was removed?
So, yes, so what House Public Works had is a list of projects that could be added if the toll increase were going to take effect. So there are a couple of those that are turnpike projects that would be funded with the toll increase. And then there are several others. If we increase the tolls, there are some federal funds in the current program that could be freed up. So when we look at the Bow-Concord corridor, the way it is, if we do not build the Bow-Concord expansion and safety improvement project, we still have to go in and do some work on the red listed bridges there. So the current plan includes $75 or so million to reconstruct bridges in Bow-Concord. If we had the toll increase to do that work with toll funds, it would free up those federal funds to go to other places in the state. At the same time, when we look at Manchester Exit 6 and 7, Toby mentioned a project to improve the southbound on-ramp at Exit 6. That is currently federally funded. With a toll increase, we would propose switching that to toll funded, and that would also free up some federal funds. So the list that House Public Works had considered included some projects off of the turnpike as well that those federal funds would go to. We did bring that list today if you want to talk about that.
If I could follow up on that. So if in the event that this were to pass through the House this week, and then we could possibly offer an amendment in here to put those projects back in there. Wouldn't that also open up because at present time when you folks in Public Works took the hard look, all the projects, regional projects from the regional planning commissions all came out. And throughout our state, whether you're in a planning commission or other form, those people have worked so hard for years to get their projects to a point, hoping for a shot for one project. Those projects came forward, but they've been totally eliminated from this. I have a problem with the heartache of that. We've asked citizens to work with us. So is it a fair statement that if we were to amend this 10-year plan, in taking into consideration that there's the possibility of tolls coming in, and if those tolls were to come in, that we could add those projects back into this, and you would be able to then take some of that money that you're going to take for the Bow project and the Manchester project, and then have funds. I'm hearing more than $75 million it would free up if that were to happen. I've heard a number in the $200 million range. Could you elaborate on that to me?
Yes. So the number that we have for that is 86.6 million would be freed up. That's the number that we have. Toby described 3 types of projects in the last 10-year plan that we classified to bring this 10-year plan into fiscal constraint. One, the best type of project stayed in the plan, fully funded for PE and construction. there was another set of projects that we had to remove the construction funds from, but we kept the engineering and the right of way so we can continue to design those projects, and so that if we get additional funding, we could fund the construction for those projects. It's those projects that were contemplated by the House Public Works to add back into the plan. Then there was another group of projects that were removed from the plan altogether before we even get to the $30 million or so of regional planning project priorities that would be added into the plan. So I think for this 10-year plan, it would obviously be Senate Transportation's prerogative which projects that they wanted to add in for that 86.6 million, and we're willing to talk about the options that you would like to explore to do that. But the projects that we had talked about with House Public Works are projects that are in the proposed 27 to 36 plan with PE and right-of-way only and no construction funded.
Madam Chairman, can I continue on my line?
Yes.
Thank you. So I would appreciate if you would bring forward the language. And I would like to explain to the members of the committee, because I believe there's another group, Madam Chairman has a project that they would like to discuss as an amendment here. But unless we bring in more revenue or we pull a project out, which is not something we've done in the past, then that might be a pathway to make some amendments that this committee then could work on.
Well, when I get to the point of my amendment for my constituents in New Boston, it isn't a cost-related issue. It is really just an issue that has to be legislated to have the fix. But when we get there, we can talk about it. As I'm so grateful they are back there waiting so patiently. But it wouldn't require the funding that you're speaking about.
And I had just started the conversation, but if you'd like me to continue, I hadn't asked the committee for questions.
I have a question.
Please.
Thank you. What is the status of the planned reconstruction or rebuilding of the bridge between Charlestown and Springfield, Vermont? Is that in the plan?
That is still currently in the plan, yes.
Okay. Any particular date?
Let me see.
Summer? Fall? This year?
So that is programmed for 2027.
Okay.
So that's next year.
Yep.
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Of course.
Thank you, and thank you for that presentation. It was very thorough. You mentioned the amount of the total cost of the red list bridges. How many total red listed bridges do we have?
So for that, we look on the back of
cheat
our
sheet.
ID. That's right. We update this every year. So as of January 1st, on the state red list, we have 114 bridges. And on the municipal red list, we have 211 bridges.
Wow, thank you.
So as Toby explained, we're essentially treading water or doing a little bit better on reducing our red list bridges. We always expect in a 10-year plan to have a certain number of red listed bridges that we plan to work on over the next 10 years. And it's always a discussion as to what that right number is. I think as we are keeping relatively consistent, the same number of bridges coming on as is going off serves us pretty good, but there is still a small percentage of bridges that we get there just what we call just too late. So we're getting there when they become significantly posted or have to become closed. So it would be nice to do just a little bit better than we are now, have just a little bit more funding to. It is it's a safety issue and it's a mobility issue. So we we do very well, knock on wood, posting or closing a bridge before we get to that safety perspective. But we really hear about how important our transportation system is every time we post or close a bridge. The public knows how much that hurts them in delayed time to get from point A to point B. And it very well could be a safety issue. It's a risk that keeps us up at night.
I'm sure it does. Okay.
I just want to go back to the point that the department would provide amendment language for me.
Yes, and you want that amendment language around if the toll increase were to pass.
Correct.
And do I understand that the priorities that you want us to suggest would be similar to what we presented to the House?
Yes.
Very good. We will do that.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay. So any other questions? Thank you for the your presentation. Sorry I had to do that, but you know I always read everything, so don't worry about that. Is it now would be all right to go through our amendment that I have bringing forward for my constituents in New Boston? So, yeah.
Thank you.
So this is part of what we're discussing, the 10-year plan. And I have an amendment, 1474S. This is a very important bill for New Boston. It adopts the state 10-year transportation plan for 2027 to 2036. And it authorizes the transfer of certain land acquired by the state under the Land Conservation Investment Program to the town of New Boston for the purpose of reconstructing the Greg Mill Road Bridge. This is essential to the town of New Boston. And I know that I have some people I'd like to call up to speak. And I have Betsy, if you could come forward. Hi, nice to see you both again.
Nice to see you too.
And I apologize that it's the nature of New Hampshire. We let everybody speak. We don't tell anybody they can't, so sometimes it runs way over.
Thank you. We understand. I am Betsy Bozak. I work for Hoyle Tanner. And did I give you my speech? I had it and I don't know where it's at. There. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. Good afternoon. We thank you, everyone, and particularly Senator, for your time in assisting us in completing these acquisitions for the replacement of the Greg Mill Road Bridge. The town of New Boston's been working on this project. We want to try to get it done before it's deteriorating. It's not on the red list yet. We don't want it to get there for the town. And the plan, which there is a copy of the plan provided to you, that there are two pieces of property that are owned by the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. To obtain easements on that land, because it was acquired through LCHIP funds, we have to go through either this process and get it passed through the legislature, or there's another process which is much more timely. We have to go through court. We have to get the governor to sign off. I know he signs off on these bills, but separately we have to get him to sign off and her today. So that's takes a lot more time and more of their time at DNCR, which they really were trying not to have to spend if we could help it. Let's see here. This is the beginning of our process, is to get this part done, because if we can't get this done so that we can acquire the easements, it's just easements for the project, not land. And they're just around the bridge area for slopes and things like that, so that, we can build the bridge. And like I said, we've been working with them. They're very good. They you know, their comments, have been using this method of approval for obtaining easements on the property. The other thing, and I believe you mentioned it, is we have funding for the project. We do not need any money, and we're not requesting any further money by this amendment. And that is my part of the presentation. Mrs. Joseph, who is our project manager for this project.
Good afternoon, Chair and the members of the committee. My name is Joseph Vitia with Hoyle Tanner Associates, with the engineering firm who's designing the project. So we're working with the town of New Boston the last few years, trying to wrap up the design, the PE to what was referred earlier by the commissioner, the preliminary engineering, permitting. And then we kind of stuck with the easements. There's those two parcels adjacent to the project that the Division of Natural and Cultural Resources owns the conservation easement there. So we need to get those rights for temporary and permanent easements, mostly due to the fact that we're going to go slightly outside the existing right of the way, and we need to acquire those rights so the contractor could build the project. We're not going there to expand the footprint of the project. It's mostly in kind replacement of the existing structure, but fixing the bridge, which is a very important crossing for the town of New Boston. It's load posted for 15 tons right now. It's very narrow, 18 feet from curb to curb. Today's standards require 24 feet, so we are way short of that 24 feet. And the sight distance when you get off Route 13, when you get to Greg Mill, and when you get into that opposite direction, it's very narrow, and then it's not a safe condition for people to be traveling. So very important project for town of New Boston. If we don't have this amendment go through, the project will be delayed for at least a year until the next session to go through the same thing. So we're very fortunate to the chair to bring this forward as an amendment to the 10-year plan so we could move forward and keep the project on budget. The longer we wait, we've heard about the inflation going up, the fuel prices going up, the asphalt prices going up. So the sooner we get this project out to bid to get it constructed, better off we all going to be to get this fixed for the town of New Boston. So again, that's my support for the amendment, and appreciate the committee to bring this forward for the town of New Boston.
Thank you for coming in your testimony, Senator McConkey.
Thank you. Just indulge me a moment. I'm a little confused. So this is a town road?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. And when you bring this up to the standard, you need a wider bridge, and you are trying to acquire right of way from DNCR?
Temporary and construction easements to construct the project.
Okay.
Only easements, no land.
Correct.
So why are we bringing this through the 10-year plans? My question. Maybe I should ask the department these questions. I've never seen a request like this come through.
It was an amendment that Senator Riccardi brought forth, and this is where she put it so that we could get this done. Otherwise, we'd had to wait till the next legislative session and start all over again and delay the project by another year.
Thank you for that. I understood that testimony. Yeah. So are you acquiring this easement from Dancer?
Yes, we will.
And why can't you and Dancer reach this agreement?
We basically have, but the RSAs, and it's RSA 162-C and several of them through, indicate that this is a process we have to use.
It said that it had to, in that RSA, that it has to be a legislative fix.
Yep.
And that has been the holdup. And this was the only conduit late in session to actually fix this problem for the town.
Right. One of the letters that I gave you, I did not mention it, is there was bridge projects back in 2013, one in New Boston, one in Concord. And the Office of Planning Economic Development Planning, I can't remember. They changed their names. They had suggested at the time that the legislature change this RSA so that we would not have to go through, or anybody would have to go through this process, because there has nothing to do with this, a scenic easement put on by the Department of Transportation. In that one, it just says the commissioner can sign off. And we're working with the Right-of-Way Bureau there to do a right of entry and get them to sign off, and we don't have to go through the legislature for it. But unfortunately, for the land that DNCR owns, it has to go through this process. And they want nothing to do with signing off on a scenic easement because they're going to be signing off on these easements. They overlap. If you look at your plan, the tax map, I'm sorry, you'll see they overlap. The scenic easement is only 200 or 300 feet wide, and the conservation easement covers the entire parcel.
Thank you. I'll save my testimony. Are we going to be able to bring the department forward?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. But before I do that, I would like to invite, thank you for your testimony.
okay.
Selectman Byron up to speak. Good afternoon. Nice to see you, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you. This project's imperative. New Boston has, I'll start off this. I've been in New Boston for 48 years. I started my life there when there were 1,400 people. There's now nearly 7,000 people. So equipment has gotten bigger. The trucks, as far as the safety, being only 18 feet wide, we've moved from 6-wheelers to 10-wheelers in town, and it's a much bigger structure, bigger wing to get more done in a timely manner. So the safety of widening this bridge, not only that, the increase in EMS, first responders, the fire trucks going back and forth on the bridge. It's definitely imperative that we get this bridge wider. And having 7,000 people in town now is just it's quite a leap compared to what the bridges were originally designed to do and sustain. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. I want you to know, and I want the others in the room to know, I'm not opposing what you're trying to do. It's the process. And after I get through to the department, then I'm sure I'll be satisfied. I'm not speaking in a negative tone to your town.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Commissioner, do you want to come up? Thank you. You like the sound of that with new title?
Thank you. Yes, and it's good when I introduce myself and remember I am the commissioner, not the assistant commissioner.
That's
So
right.
thank you.
If I could. So Commissioner, wouldn't this be an item that normally would be handled as an asterisk at the end of the 10-year plan? Is this an item that normally comes through the 10-year plan?
From my knowledge, this is not an item that typically comes through the 10-year plan. In fact, this project is in the existing 10-year plan, was scheduled to be delivered in fiscal year 25. We're now in fiscal year 26. So this particular project doesn't show up in the 10-year plan. I have not read the amendment and I haven't done any thorough research on this. But what I think I heard is that this is a bridge they want to move forward to advertise. We certainly want them to advertise it this federal fiscal year, so before the end of September, because it should have been done last fiscal year. And what I believe is happening is they need these easements on DNCR's property. And in order to get those easements, the regular process would be to bring them first through court, then through long range, then a GNC item for approval. And that legislative process takes significant time and would delay this project more than they would like. So they're asking for legislative relief through the 10-year plan, that's my understanding, but I have not researched that
That is
thoroughly
correct.
to confirm that. And I do not know if that's been done in other 10-year plan processes before. I think, Betsy, I believe, testified it was done before. I do not know of that, but I could do that research as well.
So I made sure and checked that this was okay to go forward with this
Okay.
before just doing it. So that's why we're here.
But I do think, to answer your question, I do think it could be an asterisk, if you will, part of your amendment to the 10-year plan could include some wording to allow this to take place.
Or if it's found during your research that wasn't palatable, then we could do a standalone LSR. But I think projects have been added in the past. I can think of projects
Well, like I
over
said,
20 years.
I vetted this information and I
Mhm.
certainly, you can weigh in, but I do have this amendment and I would like to pass this amendment for my constituents in New Boston in this 10-year transportation plan. Not asterisking it or anything else. We're going to pass the amendment. Thank you.
If I could just comment, the asterisk does not lower your request. It's a way to add it into the 10-year plan so it becomes part of the 10-year plan.
I just want to make sure it doesn't get caught up in another amendment that might not go through. So I want it to stand alone on its own merit.
Okay.
That's what I'd like to do. Thank you. Okay, let's see. We look like we have other people who would like to speak. Cindy?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's see. Colin? You want like to come forward and speak? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Colin Lentz. I'm here from the Stratford Regional Planning Commission. I bought way too many copies. Stratford Regional Planning Commission is made up of representatives from 18 communities, from Wakefield down to Newmarket, out to Northwood and Nottingham along the main border. It's sort of our little area. I'm not going to read my testimony verbatim. You have the hard copy. I would say overall summary that our commissioners empathize with the position of DOT in all these projects that are being cut, and request that the legislature look for ways to raise more state revenue to match those federal and local dollars being put forward to alleviate some of these cuts that you mentioned, Senator McConkey. So they're concerned with those cuts primarily, to highlight 3 projects that got cut, 2 safety projects in Madbury that they've been waiting for 10 years or more for, and a project up in Middleton. Those are the more recent ones that we put forward, the commissioners did through this 10-year plan round. They're particularly concerned with the number of safety-focused projects that have been cut. When in 2025, there were 137 fatalities on New Hampshire public roadways, and as of Monday, 20 just this year so far. So that's an area of focus for them and the Planning Commission. So there were also 2 projects that had the construction funding cut in the current draft. The intersection improvements along US 4 and 152 in Northwood, and the 108 corridor project in Dover, Rochester, and Somersworth. Those projects are still going forward, but do not have construction funding in the current draft. It's another $8 million in just general local safety improvement projects that are cut. The plan does include $25 million in new bridge projects and intersection projects. Those are from dedicated funding sources. And then, as Toby mentioned, the Transportation Alternatives Program includes $3.1 million in new projects, 1 in Farmington and 1 in Durham in our area specifically. So as I said, the commissioners are requesting that legislators work to raise additional state revenue, to fund projects while remaining maintaining the fiscal constraint of the plan. And they noted the graduated approach that's being proposed in Senate Bill 627 as a way toward a long-term funding mechanism that keeps pace with the cost of transportation improvements and maintenance by doing things like tying funding sources to inflation. So final note that public transit is a critical part of the economy throughout the state. And in our region, COAST, the Cooperative Alliance for Seacoast Transportation, is our federally funded transportation provider in our region, along with the University of New Hampshire system. Each dollar invested in public transit yields $4 in economic return, and COAST provides essential services for seniors and people with disabilities who cannot drive independently. So with that request, commissioners asked me to request that public transit providers be made eligible to access gas tax revenue and turnpike revenues to support their operations. I'll leave it at that and ask for any questions.
Senator McConkey?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, sir, for being here. I heard you loud and clear about bus and other alternatives. And when I look at your projects here, improvements intersection of 155, Town of Hall, intersection French Cross Road, so forth, were these projects submitted in the 10-year plan and then were pulled out?
Yes, the Madbury Road project up at the top, that first bullet, was actually is in the current plan as a study. And so in this round, we asked and provided the support to get that elevated to a construction project with PE and right-of-way. That was the intent, but that project has been removed in the draft, correct?
So was that your number one project, though? If I look at your list, what's your number one project?
Those were the top 3 out of 5 to 7 projects that our commissioners provided.
So the 155 Town Hall Madbury was your number one ranking out of 3?
I would say that's fair.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That's a vital safety issue. Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for your
Thank you, Madam Chair.
testimony. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the transportation plan, House Bill 2026, from the public or anyone? Seeing none, we're going to close the hearing on HB 2026. And I would like a motion to go into executive session for at least one issue I'd like to do. Thank you. Second? Okay. I would like to,
Comment?
yes.
I just want to know where we are in the process. You want to bring in this one amendment, but we're not then going to move to exec the bill, are we?
No, I'm going to bring in the amendment on 2 things I would like to talk about. One is I would like to pass the amendment on in House Bill 2026, Amendment 1474S. And I'll repeat for the public, relative to the state 10-year transportation improvement plan and reconstruction of the Greg Mill Road Bridge in the town of New Boston.
Procedurally, we would have to pass the bill and then ought to pass it.
But then we have to pass the bill if we have the motion. So we have to wait the whole thing.
Then we're going to have to wait because you want an amendment. All right, so my original thought, let me go back to this then. This has been a very long day. All right. What I'd like to do is make the motion to pass an amendment and a bill. The bill is HB 1095. The amendment is 154S, and I would like to speak to this. I'm very proud of the organizations who work together to come to a compromise. And I think it's wonderful that they worked so well together and everybody seems pretty happy. And the result of that is a very simple amendment that is going to change the effective date that would say this act shall take effect May 1st, 2028. This will give the opportunity for work to be done collectively and together, and all parties agree.
So we can't act on that bill. That was just kind of open to discussion.
But-
But, so we're gonna vote on that and come back.
When we come back next week.
Do you want to exec any of these bills? We have something else?
It has all of the bills on there. I just had that for you guys to look at visually.
Yeah.
Yes,
wanna
well,
move to exec?
I know, I want to exec the OHRV bill, that's what I'm talking about, the
Oh, yeah.
compromise. Okay, so that bill was, 1095, as I mentioned, and now we have an amendment that came because of the compromise between the two parties. Does that make it clear?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so that's,
You want to discuss 1095?
if you,
So I would move to pass on 1095.
okay,
But you could.
Could I just have a moment?
yeah, and I'll second it, but then we can discuss. So you're looking at 1095,
It's gonna be in your book, Ruth.
yeah.
You heard it last week.
They waited so patiently all day. I'm not letting them go through agony and wait again next week. We're gonna let them be done.
I have a question. And I don't know if, so my understanding is we had reached a bit of an impasse here on increasing, is this the bill to go to 3,000 pounds?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'd reached an impasse with some of the landowners, the large landowners, that if this were to move forward, that they were going to close access. So I'd like a little further explanation of
Sure.
what the amendment is, because I'm more inclined to inexpedient to legislate this legislation than move forward.
So I have spoken with the neighbors, and they were thanking me for having everyone work together and come up with a compromise. And so the compromise is changing the effective date, which allows both organizations, both sides to work together. And I am happy to ask you both to come forward if you want to speak further on this and the compromise.
I'm happy to
Okay.
if you wish.
Why don't you do that so Senator McConkey can feel satisfied? Again, I want to applaud you both and your members for working so well together. And we are not at an impasse anymore.
Yes, so I'll start. Rich Parsons, represent New Hampshire Off-Highway Vehicle Association. So the idea of May 1st, 2028 came up. Some of our discussions were around increasing GIA funds. And if there were to be some kind of bill next year that would increase GIA funds through registration for that bill would be effective May 1st, 2028. So this would delay it. And I think the most important part is it kind of puts some water on the fire a little bit and lets us step back with the landowners and discuss the ways to move forward. And if it turns out that, some landowners next year are talking again about closing their trails, which I don't believe any are at this point right now, we could always revisit the issue. But that is kind of the impetus for delaying it a year and giving us time to have productive conversations. And I think it's kind of opened the door for that.
If I may.
Of course, Jason.
Thank you. Jason Stock, New Hampshire Timberland Owners Association. So by postponing it for 2 years, it kind of lets us take a breather. It does several things. It allows us to take a breather and assess kind of what other measures, whether it's increasing grant and aid support, the issue of law enforcement or OHRV enforcement. It also gives us an opportunity to look at HB2. There's been some discussions within the OHRV community about adjusting its registration rates to bring more money into Fish and Game and the Trails Bureau to accomplish this. And so the thinking is postpone it for 2 years, allows these conversations to occur. It takes the pressures off my landowners who would otherwise have to deal with an immediate increase. And so what they have, and one in particular has said, we will continue to keep our trails open so long as it remains at the 2,000 pound limit. And then allows them to have these conversations, do this assessment, and hopefully we can come to some, further resolution to address some of the concerns, specifically the property damage and the law enforcement piece. That's kind of where we are. I've discussed this with my policy committee. We're okay with, and I think I know I did. I sent an email to you folks saying we're fine with it, with the 2-year postponement, and just gives us a chance to kind of turn the temperature down on this so that we're not facing an immediate increase in poundage.
So if I could follow up. So I like that. But we're passing legislation that's saying in 2 years' time that unless something else comes into play, that this would be the legislation in 2 years. It would go into effect. And this would give you time in between to work out the details. I'm fine with that. Thank you. Good work.
Puts the pressure on us.
Yeah, me and him.
Because quite honestly, if we can't come to a resolution, we do have landowners that aren't comfortable under today's current situation with that increase. So it puts the pressure on us to figure something out, and an HB2 cycle also to look at registration fees and some other adjustments that may need to happen.
And we fully understand the need to work closely with our landowners. So I think we're already talking about setting up something in May to get stakeholders together to start working on something for next year. So I think it's been very beneficial to kind of bring us together a bit here.
That's my favorite thing to
Yeah.
do.
Thank you for that, Senator.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So,
So you have to introduce your amendment.
so I am now introducing Amendment 1554S. It will be amending the bill by replacing Section 3 with the following. Effective date, this act shall take effect May 1st, 2028.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Do I have a vote on the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, none opposed. And now the, ought to pass as amended. Aye,
Aye.
okay.
Move
Seconded by Senator Fenton and seconded by me for move consent. Okay, do you want to do anything else on our list? It's pretty simple.
Appetite for inspection.
Before we get, before we.
I'll take it out.
You'll take it out.
So 2028.
1362, the amendment.
Yes, we have an amendment ready for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I would move ought to pass on House Bill 1362.
Second.
And I'd like to introduce Amendment 1601S. It's a carbon copy of what Chairman Walsh had handed us, but obviously it has to be the senator's name. Only addition is the effective date shall take effect upon its passage.
and I understand that was a request of the department to do that.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
And we got to ought to pass as amended.
Yep.
So can I go back to the previous one?
yeah, can we finish this one first? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm looking for an ought to pass with amendment.
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. None opposed?
Move consent.
Second consent. And do you want to take it out, Senator Fenton? All right,
I just wanted to, did you put the other one on consent? That's what I wanted to know.
Mhm.
yes,
Okay.
okay.
Previous one.
While we're still in executive session, does anybody want to talk about or see if, how you feel about 1698?
I want to go home.
Oh.
Had a long day.
It's been, it has been long.
It seemed like a
If you were in education, this
seems
one, you would
fine.
know.
It seemed fine to me too.
That was the one with
The
relative to
electric-
electronic.
Yeah, the
credentials.
department was in favor of that.
I'm
It
fine.
seems fine, okay?
I'll move ought to pass on
Let's get rid of it.
1698.
All right, I
Second.
will Senator McConkey will second it. Do you need a moment?
No, that's-
Okay, all those in favor of 1698, please say aye.
Aye.
Move consent.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Senator McConkey, do you want to take it out?
Sure.
Okay.
Wait, we said continuing for the, or never mind.
Okay. We have to wait on the, so
Yeah, I think we gotta wait.
I
for the
think
rest.
I think the 113, we have to wait and to have further discussion, I think.
And I think the rest, my colleague would like to speak on some too.
Okay. All right, so then how about a motion to come out of executive session? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Thank you. Sorry for the long afternoon.
Did it though.
And we
All
got
done
through.
hearing bills, right, Viv?
Yep.
Yeah, nice job.